Welcome back to the channel. I'd like to ask you a question. Do you live in a council property? Does your council do preventative maintenance? Mine doesn't. And a couple of months ago, a major disaster happened when in a high-rise block, the water tank burst or something. I'm getting conflicting responses as to what the actual problem was, whether it was a leak on the pipe or whether the side of the tank burst. But now the council is left with a multi-storey housing unit that is completely flooded. And I have to ask myself, why aren't they doing preventative maintenance? Because that would have been a lot cheaper to handle than what they've now got, which is, if it's the same height as my block, a 14-storey block with 50 odd flats, filled with people that they now have to put up in temporary accommodation because they can't just put them into other council properties. There aren't enough. So why aren't they doing preventative maintenance? You'd think doing preventative maintenance would be cheaper. In fact, it definitely would be. Because now they have to pay out for the temporary accommodation for all the people. I would hope that they'd have to pay out some sort of compensation, because people in those blocks have lost, have lost everything. Everything has been soaked. Now, I can bring it down to a small issue that happened to me personally. Two, in fact. I had, as part of the improving home standards in council properties, they did a refit of my kitchen, bathroom and toilet. And I had new kitchen units put in. They were lovely. About a year and a half later, I think, or maybe a bit longer, someone came upstairs, knocked on my door and said, "There's a leak in your flat. There must be, because water's pissing down into the lower floor." So they came and had a look, and it turned out there was a pipe that's in my immersion heater cupboard, and it was a pinprick hole. But it had been going for so long, I didn't know, because there was no water flooding in my flat, and there was a lot of damage done. Now, preventative maintenance would have found the pipe was getting corroded, so needed to be replaced. Instead, what happened was they had to cut a hole in the side of the cupboard, which is still there. They had to cut through the new kitchen unit, and that cost a hell of a lot more money, because they had to do all that work instead of doing spot checks, yearly or every 2-year check, to see if there was any problem. Now, whether the second problem I'm going to tell you about was caused at that time or not, I don't know. But again, one evening, someone knocked on the door, "Your place is leaking." I didn't know. I don't use that cupboard much. It's usually locked. It's usually closed. I don't open it much. It's a store cupboard as far as I'm concerned. 2 stories worth of leaking. So I'm on the 6th floor, the 5th and the 4th floor were getting a leak, and it was quite bad. What happened was, or what it appeared to be, was the stack pipe that runs through the entire building. Again, it was infrastructure, nothing to do with me, as the other leak wasn't. Nothing to do with me whatsoever. It was infrastructure, council infrastructure that failed. On this case, they looked and they said, there's a crack in the pipe, someone's repaired it, but it was a temporary repair. No one bothered to report it, obviously, and the night they came to say I was leaking into downstairs again, the temporary fix had just burst and water was flooding in downstairs. Now, one, if they'd done spot checks, they would have caught the temporary repair that hadn't been reported. It could have been fixed there and then. It was left for, it was about a month before anyone actually came round to do it. I was told when I was first informed there was a leak that I shouldn't use my kitchen sink or my washing machine, because that's where the problem was. It was in the stack pipe that connects to the kitchen. It was all right for the shower, bath and toilet and all that, but it was the kitchen part that was where the leak was happening. But it was a stack pipe. And like I said, it was a month before anyone actually came to fix it. And they told me we're probably going to have to get a builder in to not only cut off all the water, but to cut out the whole bit of the stack pipe and replace it. Luckily, that didn't have to happen. When they did come, it was a smaller fix. But they said if they hadn't been able to fix it then it would have been builders come in, they would have had to ripped out my immersion heater and all the pipes that go to it and the electrical bit, rip that all out, get a builder in, do all the cut off the water to the whole building, cut into the stack pipe where it's broken, put a new bit in, and then seal it all up and then refit everything. Wouldn't it have been cheaper to have preventative maintenance? Like I said, come round once a year or once every 2 years to have a look at those sort of things. This building has been up for more than 30 years. It's probably closer to 45 years. But no one thinks to do those small things. And it would be cheaper to do that. It's cheaper to send out a bunch of people to do a bunch of checks than it is to deal with a massive emergency where you are going to have to come in, cut the water to everybody's flats, cut out a whole chunk of pipe to replace it, or to rehouse people when the water tank on the roof bursts. However it happened, these checks, preventative maintenance checks, would be so much cheaper. Now the question is it because the council have outsourced their repairs to a private company, and it's not in a private company's interests to do preventative maintenance, because big repairs gets them a load of money? Or is it the council just aren't bothered? So the question is, for you out there, do you live in a council property? If you do they do preventative maintenance? And if they don't, if you think they should, it's about time you contacted your local councillors to make sure that preventative maintenance is on the agenda. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this maybe not interesting, but informative and helpful if you live in a council flat. If you've got any comments, put them in the comments section. If you liked it, click the like button. If you think there's people that you know who might be interested, why not share the video? And if you want more videos like this, click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when I've dropped another video. And I hope to see you again soon.